Hey guys, Crystal here at Crystal's Crafties. Today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make SVG files. This is going to be completely custom. You are going to design your own SVG files from scratch. Okay, so we're going to do this in Inkscape. If you've seen some of my other Inkscape tutorials, you'll be a little familiar with it. If not, I'm going to link to another tutorial I have that shows you how to download and set up Inkscape. Inkscape is free. It's a program that you download onto your computer. And once you have it on there, your settings may look different. These icons might not be exactly the same. It's okay. Whatever I'm showing you, you will have in yours as well. You might just have to hover over it and look for the actual description of what these tools are if they don't look like mine. Okay, so I have this Give Thanks to the Lord SVG file. I'm going to show you how to create it, and then we're going to upload it into Cricut so that you can see it does absolutely work as an SVG file. So, let me group all of this guy together. I am going to shrink this down and we're just going to design from this page here. If I don't want to lose the scale of my design, I need to lock my design. What I mean is, like, I don't want this to get smushed in like that. If I lock my design, then it just scales larger or smaller, but the ratio and aspect still stays the same. I'm going to move that over there so we can kind of see it work from it, but we still have our page here that we can design on. Okay, the first thing that we want to do when we're making these basic, simple SVG files is to pull in some text. Inkscape works with whatever fonts you have installed on your computer. So I'm going to come to my text tool here. It is the letter A. You just click on it, and then you can click anywhere onto your screen and you will get a cursor. Let's type in the first word we have there, and it is give. You notice it's pulled up in a different font. That's because Inkscape will remember whatever you used most recently. The font that I used most recently was called Bubble Mint. That is not at all what I want, so I need to change the font. Since I still have my text tool highlighted, I still have this A here for my cursor, I can come up here and I can change the font. I do actually want this chunky retro font. That is what I used. I selected it and it changed. Now that's really small. We want to make it bigger. I need to click out of this text tool because if I click anywhere else, I'm just going to get more text cursors. I'm going to come back up here to my selector tool. Then I can click my word and use my handles, and you can see it has gotten bigger. I made it larger by dragging out the handle. Don't worry about these white spaces, we're going to cover that. Right now this is a text element. Okay, there's our first word. Let's pull in the other words. Text tool, click the keyboard. Alright, I'm going to click it again, click it one more time. So there's all of the words that I'm going to be putting in. Let me select them all. So I've gone to my selector tool. Just going to drag a box around everything and just make it all a little bit bigger so that I can see what I am doing. I can make everything the exact same size if I want. I come up here, I select my first word, open my text tool again by clicking on the text editor or the text tool, and I can see that that is 548 and some change points. Let's just make this 300. I'm going to select all of this and just type 300. Inkscape, why don't you want to work with me? 300, enter. Okay, so now that is at 300 points. I'll do the same thing with the rest of these. I'm just kind of going to group them all together, select, and we will make them all 300. Okay, now everything's the same size. I don't have to worry with some words being smaller and some words being bigger. I can just kind of arrange them where I want them. Give thanks to the Lord. Okay, now I can make that whole thing a little bigger. I'm just selecting all of it. I took my mouse and I drug a box around the whole thing. just make it all a little bit bigger. Okay, we've got the start of our design. One thing when you are making SVG files, you do not want any text elements. You've looked down here and this says text. That is not going to translate to an SVG. Your Cricut or your Silhouette or whatever you're putting this in is not going to read text. You need it to be a path. So we're going to take all of this text before we do anything else and we're going to make it a path, and it's really easy. Again, select it all, just drag you a box around everything, then come to path and object to path. Now it is all magically a path, and you notice those little white lines all magically disappeared. Awesome. Okay, and let's go ahead and change the color of this. Let's go ahead and make it that pretty green that's kind of over here in this design. There's a few different ways you can get to your colors. Yours might look completely different, but if I scroll through my colors down here, I can pick these different colors. If I come and just select one of my words, and then I come and select down here. So it says fill and stroke. The fill is the color. I just clicked on where it says unset. It's going to pull up my fill box up here, my fill tool. That's this one. There's a couple different ways you can get to it. You can click down here, you can click on fill, you can click this little box, it'll all pull up. You can click this arrow down here and you're going to see all of the other tools that are available. You want to get to your fill and stroke tool. Once you have that open, click your first little box and you'll get a color wheel. And now you can come in here and you can move this around. You can make it red. You can make it blue. You can do whatever you want. If you happen to know your color code, you can put that in. You can use these boxes down here. There are tons and tons and tons of ways you can select the color for your design. Let's do that again. I've got this one. I need to make it a color. I can either, if my fill and stroke tool is available up here, I can click it. If it's not, I'm just going to come click down here and it will pull it up for me. Did you see how that flashed? Let me click it again and watch up there at the top. It's flashing. It's because it's already open. If it's not open, it will open it for you. And I want it to be this exact color. So I'm actually going to use my color picker right now. It is selected and you see I have this little eyedropper. I can now just click on this green and it will turn that green. Awesome, right? I have to get out of this or anything else I click. It's going to turn whatever color that is. So let me put it back to green, click my selector tool, and I'm going to do the same for these two. I've selected them. I'm going to get my dropper, turn them to that green, and I actually want this one to be that green as well. Okay. So I have that green for all of my letters now, for all of my words. Let's get that black outline around it. Again, super, super simple. I'm going to select everything. We're going to be working in our fill and stroke tool again. Instead of a fill, this time we want a stroke. Look down here. The stroke is currently unset. I'm going to click it. And now it took me from this fill over to this stroke. They look identical. You have to read the top. Fill is selected now, the little blue highlights under it. I want to be on stroke. Okay, I don't have a stroke turned on right now. It's currently X'd out. But if I hit the solid box, the flat color, it gave me a stroke. Now, that looks absolutely horrible. We need to mess with the size of our stroke and change that. So we're going to come to stroke style. And we're going to take it and we're going to put it at like a 5. Okay, it wasn't liking what I was doing because I had everything selected. I'm going to do them one at a time. So I've got my give. Let's put that at a 5. Okay, that's a little big. We're going to leave it there and see what we think. Let's do the thanks at a 5. To the, put it at a 5. Lord, put it at a 5. All right. We're going to work with this. That might be a little big for your liking, but that's okay. Just stick with me on this. Okay, a couple things to point out once we've got this stroke put on. I'm going to increase the size of my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. it's got the overlaps in all of this. We don't want that. When we are creating an SVG file, we need that stroke to be solid, and we need the fill of all of our letters to be solid. So what I want you to do is come in and merge your letters together. If you have a more updated version of Inkscape, you might not have this issue going on. If you don't, then you're good to go. But if you have this issue, what you need to do is select your word and then double click into each letter to get them separated out. You see how they're all separate now? At first, if I click this, it's all together, but while it's selected, I can double click and then I can get everything to separate out like this. Once it's all separated out, I will select it all, and then I'll come to Path, Union, and now you see how that all went away? We're going to do that again here. If you don't like that double click method, if it's not working for you, that's okay. Select your word, right click, and ungroup, and it's all going to separate out for you that way as well. Now that it's all separated, Path, Union. What that's doing is literally uniting each letter together to get rid of any overlaps. We're going to do it here. Select it, right click, ungroup, Path, Union, and we'll do this one by the double clicking. It's selected, double click, and then hold shift and select everything else. And Path and Union. Okay, so now those overlaps are gone. That outline is super thick. I think I want to just knock it down to maybe a 4. That's definitely looking better. I'm going to do it on all of them. Okay, so now we've got our outline around our words. That outline is not a path though. That outline is still just a stroke, and we need to make it a path. So what we want to do is, with this selected, we want to go to Path and Stroke to Path. Now both of our fill, our word that's in green, and our stroke are a path. Same thing here. Path, stroke to path, path, stroke to path, path, stroke to path. Why is that important? If you don't do that, you're not going to get that black outline in your SVG file. It'll show up here, but once you export that as an SVG, that black outline will go away. You have to have everything a path for it to translate to an actual SVG file. Alrighty, that's looking good. One thing I want to mention, it depends on your preference and how you like your SVG files. I'm going to break this apart now that I have 2 different paths here. I have the green and the black. So I'm just going to split that. Okay. So here's the green path. Here's the black path. That's our outline. Some people like it that way. Some people like their outline to literally just be an outline with a hollow inside that they layer their design into. Some people like that black layer to be solid. Either way you want to do it, it's totally fine. If you want that to be solid, all you need to do is select it. Once it's separated out, don't select it with that green inside, separate everything out. Select your black outline, go to Path, break apart. Now there's all that stuff in there. Did you see that? We're not going to need to mess with most of it. You can just take this guy here and pull him away. And then we can delete all of that. And now, let me bring this up to the top. This green layer is behind. I need to bring it to the top, so I'm going to use my elevation arrows and just click this one that brings everything straight to the top. And now I have the solid background. So it really just depends on how you want yours to look. If you want your Let me separate another one out just so you can see how it is. So here, this is selected. Right click, ungroup. If I click off of it, now you can see I've got that separated out. Same thing here, right click, ungroup, click off of it, pull it apart, separate it out. You can do it however you want. Completely up to you. Okay, I'm going to Control Z to get all those back together just so that we can continue the tutorial. Actually, I'm going to Control Z all the way back to get this one the way it was originally. Control Z is your best friend. It just undoes whatever the last thing is that you did. So now we're just right back to this here, this great little design. Okay, we've got our letters. We have chosen a color. We've put a stroke. We've turned our stroke to a path. We're good to go. Let's put in these fun little embellishments, right? Okay. Do you need to know how to draw a pumpkin? No, you don't. We're going to come and get another SVG file that's already completely made and just stick it in here. So to do that, I hop over into Creative Fabrica. Right now, again, they've got their awesome Halloween sale going on. You can get your all access, $47. You pay that once. You get access for a year, and you're going to get a free gift worth $1,000. I've mentioned this before. I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail on that, but I will put a link. Everyone that purchases for the first time or that extends their membership for a year is going to get this free gift worth $1,000. So it's definitely worth doing that. But anyway, so you're just going to come in here and you're going to type like Fall Pumpkin SVG. And then something important, you want to come down here and sort this out into crafts because you're going to get PNGs and SVGs together if you don't. Alright, and then you're going to find whatever pumpkin looks good to you. It does not matter what this pumpkin looks like. It doesn't matter if it is hollow. It doesn't matter if it is filled in. It doesn't matter if you like the color, if you don't like the color. The important thing is the shape of the pumpkin. Oh, this is a good one. Okay, this one's going to give you pumpkins and flowers. So we could download this and we could use these different styles of pumpkins and these different styles of flowers. Just go through, find whatever you like. Literally, it doesn't matter what color it is as long as you like the shape of the pumpkins. And then get yourself some leaves. I actually found this file here that had the leaves and the pumpkins and some acorns, and I thought it was great, and it's what I used. It really doesn't matter. Even if your file doesn't have that color, like these have the color inside of them, it's okay. You can get these ones that are just outlines. I'm going to show you how to work with it. Just pick anything that you like, download it. It does not have to be from Creative Fabrica. You can get pumpkin SVGs from anywhere as long as they are SVG files. And then we are going to come back into Inkscape and we are going to upload them. So to get them into Inkscape, you come to File and you import. Then you go and find wherever those files are. Let's see, I think I used 8 as one of them. Let's see, I'm just double clicking. Yep, that was the leaf. Awesome. And let's see, I think 12 was one of them. I've got them here on my desktop so you can see, like, okay, yes, I used 12 and I used 6 was the acorn. Okay. Whatever SVG you get, they're going to be labeled differently, so you'll just have to kind of look and see what you've gotten. But let me import. And I think 6 we said was the acorn, yes. And then let me go get the pumpkin. And again, make sure you are uploading the SVG file. If your thing that you have downloaded has PNGs, they're all going to show up here. Get that SVG file. Alright, now I have these SVGs in here. I can work with them to get them looking like this. Let's just start with this pumpkin here. I'm going to drag it down to where all we can see is the pumpkin, and you'll see how I work with it. So the first thing I need to do is break this down into its simplest form. Right now it says it's a group of 2 objects, so let me see what all is in there. Let me ungroup it. Okay, the only thing that ungrouped was this little line here. And every SVG is going to be different. It really just depends on the creator of the file and how they designed it. Okay, if your SVG had a color inside, when you ungrouped it, you would be able to move that color off and you would have this outline to work with. If your SVG was only a color and did not have an outline, you would need to put that stroke on it. Just like we did with the letters, you can add that stroke. I'll even show you how in just a minute. Okay, so for this next part, if you don't have a color inside of your SVG, you're going to need to duplicate this so that we don't lose it. We're going to duplicate it. The next part we're going to do is going to kind of alter this image, and we need to make sure we keep that original. So we've got our duplicate over here, come back, and we're going to use that break apart feature again. That break apart feature is really awesome. Path, break apart, and you will see I now have this big solid pumpkin, but I have all of these different individual colors. A couple different things I can do with this. I can take these, and where's my oranges? There we go. I can make like orange and orange and orange and orange, and it was just my preference to two-tone that. I think I used some better, that's pretty much what I used. You can do it however you want it. This needs to be like a green color. Okay. You can even come and put your little line back on if you want it. But from here, you have the same 2 options that we had with the letters. You can take this outline and you can put it into here and you can line it up if that's how you like your SVGs, where these are hollow and you just layer it onto here. Or you can take this guy, move him to the back, and you've got it that way too. And you can reposition that and get it, wherever you want it. It's however you like to design your files. You can do it either way with this. Let's do the acorn now. So I'm going to select all that and group it together and kind of pop it out of the way. Let's get this acorn going. Okay, so again, if yours has a color, come right click, ungroup, and it'll pull that color out. I can't ungroup because this is all one thing. There's nothing to ungroup. Let me see if this leaf gives me an option to ungroup anything. Nope, it's all one thing as well. If you can tell if it will be able to ungroup, because if you come down here and it says 2 objects or 3 objects or 4 objects, you can ungroup that. If it just says path, there is no ungrouping there. So from here, if we want to put that fill in, we're going to right click, duplicate so we can save our original. Then this one, we will come path, break apart. There it all is. Let's bring that big thing out. And now each one of these is completely separate. I'm going to kind of drag a box around all of these. And let's see here. We're going to make them like a darker brown. Then we're going to grab this guy and make him like a lighter brown. This can be the darker brown. Awesome, awesome. Throw that guy back on there. Send him to the back. Hold on. I want to group all this together so it doesn't all move around. Drag a box around it, right click, group. Now I can just move that back one. Alright, so you see that's how you're going to work on those. Now, like I said a minute ago, if your file is just a solid color, let me just pull out this, hold on. Okay, I've ungrouped it. I'm going to delete all that top stuff. So say you just have, let's pretend that's a pumpkin, and it's all solid. There's no outline or anything around it. You want to add the outline. You're going to do it exactly like we did it for the letters. You're going to come up into your fill and stroke tool. If you don't see it here, you're going to click here and you're going to find it over here where it says wherever you find fill and stroke, or you're going to come down here and you're going to hit the stroke and it will open it for you. Click over into stroke. Right now your stroke is turned off. You need to turn it on. And it automatically put that stroke around there, but it's too skinny. So we're going to come to stroke style. We're going to put it at like a 3. We now have a stroke around that as well. So it does not matter what kind of SVG you find, you can make it work. You come and get your elements, you place them. I'm going to delete all of this now. I've shown you how to create it all. So you come and design it up to look however you want it. I had leaves of a couple different colors. I had a few different pumpkins in here. What I did with these pumpkins was I just duplicated. If I want another pumpkin like this, I've got it selected. I'm going to right click, duplicate. I now have another pumpkin. Want another leaf? No worries. Right click, duplicate. I now have another leaf. Oh, I only duplicated the outline of that one. Okay. Anyways, whatever you want, you can just duplicate it. I will say you need to group things together, and if something is the same color, you need to attach it, because once you put this into Cricut Design Space, if you have not grouped and attached, it's going to be a jumbled up mess. So let me just go get another pumpkin. Let's put this pumpkin back in here. And this is super important. You do have to do this. Okay, I need to ungroup it. Get this little guy out of the way. Okay, it has to be in its simplest form before you can do this break apart. If you've got to ungroup, go ahead and ungroup. And then path, break apart, yay. Okay, I'm gonna delete that guy. And I'm actually gonna delete that guy. Now this I'm gonna make pink. And this is gonna be like a red, and this is gonna be whatever this pink was. And this is gonna be a red. Okay, I think those pink, they're all different colors. That was not my plan. Let's see, this, I need to be this pink. And this, I need to be that red. Okay, and then this needs to be like this greenish color again. Okay, so here's my little pink pumpkin. I need to attach the colors. I'm going to select this one, hold shift on your computer so that you can select both of them. Then you want to come to path and combine, and that will attach them. Attach is more of a Cricut phrase, but it's the same exact function. Then we want this one, hold shift, and we want to path, combine. Now these two will stay together. If we don't do that before we pull it into Design Space, like I said, it's going to look like a big old jumbled up mess. Okay, but let's go back to the design. You're done with it. You've got it looking just the way you want it. Here it all is on your page. You, let's see here. Let me select everything. Let's group it all together so it'll stay in place. And this is grouping after I have attached things that are the same color. You need to attach the same color and then group each pumpkin together. Group each little leaf part together. Group each acorn part together. Then group your whole design together so everything stays where you have it. And we're just going to export this. We're going to come to File, and we are going to Save As. Then you're going to get all these different kinds of options here that you can save this as. I'm going to put it on my desktop, and I'm going to save it as, you can do either. You can do Inkscape SVG or plain SVG. It really does not matter, but stick with one of those two. So I'm just going to go plain SVG, and let's call this, I've already got that one saved. Let's call this for tutorial. Okay. Save. It's on my desktop. Let's open up Cricut Design Space. 3 years later, I now have Cricut Design Space open. I'm going to start a new project. I'm going to come to Upload. Okay, and now I'm going to upload that SVG file we just made. So Upload Images. Let's go find it. What do we call it? For tutorial. There it is, right there. Open. There it is. Okay, now it saved the whole page. I wasn't prepared for that. I meant to just save this part. But here's that other pumpkin that we made. And you see, I did not come back and group that other pumpkin together. So now it's separate. But no worries, let's hit continue. The rest of my design is right where I want it. I'm gonna hit upload. There it all is. I don't need any of this down here. Ungroup. And ungroup. I don't want that pumpkin, and I don't want that pumpkin. I did want all of this pumpkin. Okay. So it's in a lot of different little groups. But you see, you can work with it exactly the way you work with anything in Cricut Design Space. It is an SVG that's just like any other SVG. And you have completely designed it all on your own. You've made your own SVG. So get started on that. Watch the video over a few times to go over each of those steps. But just a couple takeaways that are super, super, super important. When you're putting text into Inkscape, you have to turn it into a path. If you are putting a stroke around that text, you have to turn that stroke into a path, or else it will not incorporate into Silhouette or Cricut Design Space. If you're still watching, let me show you one other small little takeaway. If you don't want to mess with the stroke while you're in Inkscape, you can just add the outlines here in Cricut Design Space. Like I take this T and I can just come and offset it. Let's put it at 0.5. No, what on earth? 0.05. There we go. Apply. And you can add it in Cricut Design Space that way too. But if you're designing for a program that's not going to be like Cricut or Silhouette, you might want to put that on while you're in Inkscape. But anyways, that's all I've got for you. We'll see you next time.